Welcome to the new sound of online radio. Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network.
You make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven.
A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at UBNradio.com.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Rebel Hearts. This is your host, Kristie Reeves, and we're already having fun behind the scenes over here. I have some amazing guests on today's show who were actually on the show individually last year. And, our theme continues. We want to keep inspiring you to become the change that you want to see in the world. And I actually feel it's amazing because we're recording the show on August 8th, the big lion portal, which is all about bringing in the new light codes, moving through the portal into awakening and a higher consciousness. So by the time you're actually going to be watching and listening to the show, we're on the other side of the portal. So we're going to present you with some incredible information about the evolution of consciousness and all kinds of really amazing goodies. But before I bring them on camera, let me introduce them and tell you a little bit about them. Keith, Anthony Blanchard. As a spiritual teacher, Keith is remarkable in his natural, sincere love and acceptance of all people, which is palpable to those who connect with him. When speaking to a live audience, Keith brings his gift of deep intuition to tune the conversation to the most immediate needs and desires of his audience. As a live presenter and spiritual leader, his broad and vast spiritual wisdom and background enlightens and resonates with a wide range of spiritual seekers and light workers. And he's also a host of the Center of Light Radio, so see him, tune in, check him out. Brian Hardin is a speaker, writer, filmmaker, music producer, composer, conscious creator, and activist. Besides contributing to many gold records, including music with Quincy Jones, Arie, Outkast, Tenacious D, Usher, Guns N' Roses, which was one of my favorite bands growing up, and many more. Brian has created films with the Dalai Lama, Quincy Jones, Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, as well as many elders and spiritual leaders. His mission is to create media that inspires us to bring our open mind and heart together in harmony. Let me welcome Brian and Keith. Hello there.
Hello. Here we are. Uh-oh.
Here we go. I was waiting for the applause.
Oh, okay.
It is so fun. It's such a gift of both of you on the show together today. And like I said, it's like a big portal day that we're recording it when we had all kinds of challenges as we're getting ready. So I have the feeling there's going to be some amazing information channeling through. And I want to chat with you a little bit about moving into higher consciousness happening on this planet right now. And let's dive into what is it that you've been witnessing? What is it that you've been experiencing? What is it that you're seeing for the future? Let's talk about these things. Who wants to start? Keith? Looks like Keith.
Everything is opening up. It's just opening up very wide, exponentially. And it's time. Not only is it overdue as far as it's time, the time is now. You got to step into that place. If your goal in life is to be a blissful being, however that bliss may arrive in your life, there's a window open. Mm-hmm. And if we can find a way through the principles and ideas that we're all going to be bringing forth, I'm sure tonight, to live in these modalities, the train to Ascensionville is leaving. And if you're looking around and you're seeing chaos and discord, you need a new pair of glasses. And so when we begin to pull that veil back and see things from a divine perspective, with divine love and compassion, versus, anchoring down, oh my God, I wish this wasn't happening in the world. Well, that's by default. We all wish these kinds of things are not happening. Mm-hmm. But when we see them from a new space, something else begins to happen in the human experience. Mm-hmm. I think that's taking place right now.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that. And what a lot of people, I feel, are regarding as chaos or whatever word we want to use, I feel it's the breaking down of the systems, and it's the phoenix rising from the ashes. It's illuminating what has no longer a place in this world, what has no longer working for us. And we need to have that illuminated, because otherwise we cannot make the change, right?
You know, I can agree that as we look around, that words have a purpose. So we have to call this terrible. That terrible thing is happening in the world. But when we get out of the judgment of that, we realize, at least I am in the space. My opening comment, what I made just a minute ago, is these terrible things are starting to look very beautiful to me. Mm-hmm. Because your best friend, who went through a relationship breakup so many years ago when they was in that dark night of the soul, it looked terrible. Mm-hmm. But the wisdom that was brought about for this person through said experience, in hindsight, mm-hmm. they went through a beautiful unfoldment process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing. At least for me. That's how it feels to me.
What about you, Brian?
Well, I've lived through several end of the worlds. You know, I remember the Y2K. You know, it was the end of the world at Y2K, and all the computers were going to mess up and whatever. Then we've had 2012, and that was the end of the world. Well,
that's right. Yeah.
What we call the apocalypse. The word apocalypse in Greek, literally meaning uncovering. It's a disclosure of knowledge or a revelation. It's not the end of the world. It's actually revealing what is going on. And so this uncovering and revealing is happening for everybody. All these old systems that we've had in place are no longer working. Chris Hedges actually said, he's a writer, and he said, we now live in a nation where doctors destroy health, lawyers destroy justice, universities destroy knowledge, governments destroy freedom, the press destroys information, religion destroys morals, and our banks destroy the economy. Well, it's happening everywhere on all systems. And so what's going on, not only in the US, but throughout the world, is we're realizing that we, the people, for each country, are out of tune with what the government is. The governments no longer serve the people. And so, when we go, hate another country, if you really connected with the people of that country, you'd realize that we don't hate the people of the country, we hate the governments, what the governments stand for. So
absolutely.
to literally abolish all governments, we would be probably left with people that are more similar than different. Just like all religions are more similar than different. So within that, I stop looking at labels of people or religions or colors or races or religions or whatever it is, those labels, and I start looking at the individual. And so within that, it's like micro, macro. We have to actually look at the individual, but as an individual, we have to look at how we affect the world. And that's, both of those things are skewed. Usually people, this capitalistic society is all about me, and how much I can do. Sorry, it's just only business. So within that, that is shifting to we, and it's shifting to how I'm affecting the world. And then the other way is how I'm similar to each other. And so that's our change.
Yeah, and I think you and I have talked about the Israel loves Iran, Iran loves Israel campaign that was going through the news several years ago, where those two countries were on the verge of going to war. But it was, again, like you're saying, it was the government, it wasn't the people who wanted the war. And for all the rebel hearts who don't know that story, and maybe chime in, Brian. It was one individual who created change by just starting to post Iran. He was an Israeli, and he started posting, Iran, we love you. We don't want any wars. We don't want to throw bombs on you. We want to meet you and sit down over a cup of coffee and talk about soccer or our families or whatever it is. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes. When you look at the root of all religions of the world, you realize that they actually are all kind of saying the same thing. And when it boils down to the golden rule, or love and kindness, and then you look at each culture of the world, everybody wants the same thing. They want safety, security, a family, a community. They want, to express dance and music and so on, and food, and what their local culture is, and they want to share it with the world. as is sort of in competition. And you see this at the Olympics. You see a lot of harmony where you realize that people really are very, very much the same. So, I think if we honestly did away with governments, it would take a short amount of time, but we would self-police as the collective. And what's being imposed on us, though, is a few powerful governments' version of that same collective. And there comes the problem, because you know, what comes with that is power, ego, money, control, and so on. You know.
Absolutely. So, you know, I feel like each one of us has the potential to create immense change. And I want to stick to that topic of, you know, moving from what separates us to moving what unites us, removing these veils of illusion that we're different, removing the illusion that, you know, you are you and I am I, and we're not the same. So I would love for both of you to share some, you know, maybe something personal that you experienced or something that you want to share with our audience. How do we continue? How do we start removing these veils of separation that have been there for so long? No matter if it's, like you said, it's the countries, it's the cultures, it's the religions, it's everything that has separated us in our dualistic reality.
Yeah, I would like to read something, because you both were just talking about something. It's a very small excerpt from the Divine Principle.
Okay,
and it talks about where we are in the game. This is Spirit speaking, and it's addressing world leaders and governments. The true agenda of many governments and governmental figures worldwide will be brought to light. The United States, the greatest country of all with the greatest form of government, will suffer a major breakdown. Its present legislative branch will collapse, and it will take years to rebuild it. Because of this restoration process, many old guard politicians will be forced out. Your new lawmakers will not make law per se, but rather, this is how we keep order, but rather introduce you to divine law and teach you how to fall into flow with it. The establishment of divine order is commencing as I speak.
Yeah.
That's what's taking place.
That's beautiful.
Because it's going to be about the people. It's going to be the people themselves. And the way we get out of the trap and the conundrum is when we realize the law of karma. No matter where you are and no matter how safe you think you are, if you've done something that warrants paying you a visit, no matter if you have law or not, it is going to pay you a visit. When we understand through consciousness that it's really not about them protecting us. Protection doesn't come from this place. Being in our invincibility, when you begin to live in that kind of energy, it changes not only your world, but everyone around us. So I think as we get busy connecting with that which is the source, literally the source, and all it is and what it means and what it does to people, when they have an understanding about what it really is, because most religion, this is not me picking on religion. I love religion. I think it's a beautiful way to celebrate Creator. But I'm talking about the fundamental stuff, the dogmatic stuff. When we teach people to understand that what is breathing your breath now for you and allowing yourself to hear my voice, even, you're in it. That's it. There's nowhere else to go. You don't graduate into it. You just fall into it. You should keep falling. And so if Creator, see, there is only one path to well-being. There's only one path to God or Creator, source, whatever word people would choose to deem it. If we can see, no matter your code, your faith, your creed, your sect, your doctrine, your walk, your favorite deity, it doesn't matter. It's only one path. So if this path that we are embarked upon is to reach the source of love, if God is love in its totality, then the only work that is required is that we develop the same love within ourselves to the level that God is. There's no other path.
Yeah.
And when people understand that, they feel empowered versus spoken at.
Absolutely. Brian, I'm going to pass the talking stick to you?
Oh, well, the foundation of our country, July 4th, 1776, we wrote this Declaration of Independence. And it's really amazing piece of information. Most people just kind of fluff over it, and they don't realize how cool it really is. In the first sentence, it's kind of, I'm going to zoom past it and get to the meat of it. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God. Now, this is not a specific God. This is the laws of nature and nature's God. This is frequency. This is vibration. This is the laws of physics. This is all religions, all right? And religion itself is religion, reconnect. It's we the people. It's connect. It's unify. So anyway, to which the laws of nature and laws of nature's God entitle them, a decent respected opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation. Basically, it just says, we're leaving behind Europe, and we're following the laws of the universe, and we're going to go create our own country. And that's what that first paragraph says. Mm-hmm. So then the second paragraph is really awesome, too, because it says, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, and they're endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, which are among these life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Tibetans don't call it pursuit of happiness. They call it, you have the right to work on suffering. But we call it the pursuit of happiness. Right? So then, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Basically, the people we put into office get their power from us. So we are in charge. They are not in charge. And so then it says that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its power in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and their happiness. So it's not only our right, but it's our duty to actually take care of we the people, and take care of all of us, and unify together and do what's right for the collective, not just the few richest 1% or the few oligarchs or whatever. So anyway, that's my 10 cents worth. Okay.
Thank you, Brian. And this is also one of the reasons why I created this show, because as I said at the beginning, it is all about inspiring people to become the change they want to see in the world. And I think one of our biggest problems has been that we don't believe that we do have the power. We've been giving the power away to others, saying, hey, the government is not doing a good job, but we're kind of relying on them to step it up, government, instead of us stepping it up. Or like you said, the medical system or education system, whatever systems are currently in place. And we believe someone else has to do it for us.
No, we have to unify. We have to come together and make things happen for all of us. So if let's say you're a Black Lives Matter person, or Indigenous Rights Matter, or dealing with women's rights, or whatever rights you stand by, if there's another organization coming together having their thing, it's important that we all, meaning the entire rainbow of people, all ages, the whole thing, show up and address these issues as a team, as a group, and so the pendulum swings, and people don't change until they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And usually, they say the one thing that's consistent is change. That the constant is change, and so that with that, these problems that humanity is having throughout the entire planet is awesome as a change agent. So we will unify. Yeah. We will show up and work together. Yeah. Go.
That was just genius. Absolutely.
Thanks.
We can make change, or the change is going to make us. I like the first one better.
Yeah, and I don't know. Do you guys know about the prophecy of the Messianic age, the age of the Messiah that we're currently in? And it's like this, and it's like, I think different cultures and different, spiritual directions have talked about this messianic age that we're moving into. And in the past, we always had one Messiah who would show up, no matter if it's Yeshua, Jesus Christ, or Buddha, or even King Arthur, who reunited England. It was one person who was the leader, and people supported him. They followed him, King Arthur and the knights went into battle, but it was always one person who showed up, who created a massive change on this planet. And with the age of the Messiah, which we moved in around 2012 plus minus, it is not just one person who will come and create change. We are becoming our own Messiah. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones who will change the world. It's not just one person, it's all of us.
We're the Messiahship.
Mm-hmm.
We're the Messiahship.
Have you heard that Dalai Lama himself says, I might not return this next time because I might not return as an individual, but as a collective?
No, I've never heard that. I'm having chills all over my body.
Yeah. Let me find that. I was just reading about the Messianic age right here. So go for it, Keith.
Wow. I just released an announcement last week about the return of the Messiah. Something I'd sat on for over 30 years and never told a soul, except in the divine principle.
Wow.
Long stories short, Jesus began to appear to me as a child. No, excuse me, as an adolescent. There was major alignments after alignments after alignments. When I was writing the divine principle, I found myself just what I thought was venting out fanciful ideas about the return of Christ. I said, good punchy chapter, too bad I can't use it. That night, 2 angels came to me and spoke in each ear as one being. And he said, we told you to log this information, Keith. Leave it alone. So I kept it. I'll go to India years later. When I'm on the Sai Baba's ashram, I bought a prayer bead into the temple one morning. Sai Baba blesses this person, looks at me strangely, skips over me, and keeps walking. I'm going, why did he just do that? So I went after the blessing. I went out the temple, which you're not supposed to go in the streets because of the energy, so dirty, beggars and stuff. Anyway, I went to the shop, and the man says, "What do you want?" I said, "What do you have? What do I need?" He said, he says, "You need this," and I bought a new prayer bead. So when I go back into the ashram, I got very sleepy. I never took a nap while I was there. I fell into a dream experience. I fell asleep. And in the experience, the holy man, Sai Baba, was there. And we're in the gymnasium. Basically, long story short, we all came to the center court because there was a gold chest like an ark of a covenant. Scriptural writings, carvings, it was gold. It was beautiful. And he looks to me. We lift up the lid. And Sai Baba looks to me and he says, "Keith, I'm going to tell you something you've been knowing since you were a child." He says, when we looked on the ground, there were 3 figurines, a crib, 2 goats, and a throne. And he said, the one you know as the personality as Jesus is going to occupy this seat. He's going to be born into a family of goat herders 5 months from now. So when I got back to the hall the next day, that very moment, by saying, is this valid? Is this valid on this prayer bead for hours in the beating hot sun? In front of 35,000 people, he's facing the other way. He stops what he's doing. And he comes over to me and blessed this bead with the look in his eyes that, Keith, I set all this up for you tonight. I have this moment. That's why I skipped you this morning, for you to go buy that bead. It was just, so anyway, I made a declaration, an announcement last week that I think he was born in the Yucatan Peninsula somewhere. Now, whether all this is true, I know through the magic and divine play in my life, I would probably take everything I have on the ability that it would be true.
Wow.
Scared the shit out of me to make that announcement, but I had to unburden my soul.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't scare you, should it?
Correct.
Shouldn't it make you joyous and happy because, we are all connected, and so we're raising our frequency. And, we've all talked in different ways about the physics behind changing your frequency, breathing, connecting to the earth, connecting to nature. And I mean, that is raising the frequency of the whole planet, so let's go. It's like
I sometimes feel like if you move into your biggest sphere, that's where you find the biggest light will come out.
The biggest bang, yeah. Love it.
Biggest blessing.
We're talking about frequency all of a sudden here. It just dawned on me. How you're playing a song in one key. All these notes work. All these notes really work in this key. And I feel like we've been playing for 2,000 years the same song in the same key. And this change has been from the Piscean age to this Aquarian age. It happens every roughly 2,000 years, and we're changing keys. And right now, there's a lot of notes that are playing in the new key, and people are still playing this old key, and a lot of those notes are clashing.
It's creating a dissonance, yeah.
You feel it?
Oh, yeah. It's creating a dissonance, that's for sure.
And it's like we're raising our frequency from, whatever key to the next key, a whole octave or, a whole step above. And, yeah, so musically, you can feel it, right? You can feel that what used to work in that old song for 2,000 years doesn't work in the new song.
Yeah, and people think, they say that, well, Keith, I live in the same world you do. I don't think it's that glorious or not. The magic's not out here. It's happening in here. This is the gate. When you begin to stretch that puppy open, the feeling levels that you begin to experience, that's the only way you can experience true bliss, is to get in there and allow yourself to fall into the bosom of your divine mother. And you sit in that place as long as you can, as deep as you can. Then the nerve centers can begin to feel the frequency, not only the vibration, the frequency, but the oftenness, the frequency of ongoing bliss. That's what I'm going for.
Absolutely. I love it.
That's what I want. I want the light. I want to feel that frequency. And when we have these talks, Brian, Kristie, myself, when I do my Burst of Light live videos and I allow myself to fall, I'm addicted to it. I'm a God junkie.
So Keith, tell us, what do you do to connect to that bliss? Is there anything that we can teach the Rebel Hearts audience to start connecting to that energy right away?
It's sort of like a spiritual muscle memory for me, meaning we learn a craft. Brian, we learn a song. And first we got to put the guitar down, come back to it. And then finally, after 2 weeks playing a song, so you need some food while you're playing. It's no big deal. I've been falling inside of myself for so long that by mere intention, I could be there in a moment. Because I've been so long practicing passion and sincerity and vulnerability and humility for so many years as a way to touch that sacredness. My muscle memory just throws me there because it's all, for me, the real magic, the real power is your sincerity. You just play with that one for a while. And so when I choose just to it's now that it's almost a falling inside of it, but also it's something comes up to meet me as well. It's like a marriage, a flame begins to move and play within itself. That's how it feels for me. But for me, it's about passion and sincerity. You don't have to per se meditate or per se fall in to feel that. When you're passionate and sincere about anything that you do, you are in God. You're in meditation mode. It's not, I'm going to go meditate so I can connect to God. It's right here, right now. So if we do everything all the time passionately, we're always connected to passion.
Yeah.
God becomes your life. You're living the it of it all. That's how it works for me. And so if you can find anyone, if you can just find that space inside.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is in there.
I love it. Thank you.
Sometimes it gets so overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
I go into these crying spells because my body does not know what to do with those kind of frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
So crying is a way of burning it off.
Cry. I actually cry also at all those little films and movies and so on.
Yeah.
I can't watch anything bad. I can't take it all in at all. I only take in really positive energy stuff when it comes to visuals. And I got caught up in all that bad frequency of like hate. You know, I hate what's going on here. And so instead of promoting what I loved, I got carried away with talking about all the things I hate and wow, how bad they are. And it's my frequency down. And so I have to return as a practice, like you were saying, as a practice to what do you love? Let's be grateful. Let's have, let's change our frequency by being thankful for what I have instead of hating what I don't or what's going on in society. You know, being aware of that is one thing, but being attached to only that frequency is horrible, and it'll take you down. It's a practice. So I practice raising my frequency. Do you ever hear of Abraham Hicks? You both have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And Abraham Hicks speaks real simply that match your frequency to that of what you want. And so feel the feeling right now of the victory. Feel the feeling that you're going to have when everything does work out perfectly. And then you attract everything working out perfectly. And, you know, to do that, I have a couple little things I do. It's like I change my attention where my attention is pointed. And that's what I just talked about. Where's my attention pointed? I change my attention to the positive, and I change my intention with supporting that and doing something and serving and loving and being kind and compassionate. And so when I do those two things, my frequency automatically goes up. The low frequency is argue, blame, and complain. The high frequency is love. Okay. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, do you ever see that? I bet, you know, you guys have had dogs or cats or whatever. They wake up happy. Woo, it's another day.
Yeah.
Woo.
They don't judge.
We with our minds go through the list of all the stuff we have to do, and we look at our watch with the imaginary time on it, and we go, oh, I'm late, and they panic, you know? And then suddenly your frequency's messed up, you know? So when you connect back into the yum, to the positive, your frequency can be, you know, you go to gratitude, you go to joy, and I tune my frequency to that of what I want. So, yeah, I have a couple little, my trick is really funny. When I was a little kid, there were a couple little memories I have of being a little kid, and I didn't know what it was like to pay rent or pay bills or whatever else or go have a job. I was just full of innocence. So I go to this one little moment, I'm standing on top of this hill watching my uncle play baseball, and it's the perfect temperature out and the breeze, and it feels really good. So I go back to that little moment, and I'm standing on this hill watching baseball played, no specifics, and I go to the feeling I had at that time of freedom, of innocence, of joy, of laughter. Everything was perfect. And I go to that little spot, bang. So when I wake up, for me to turn into the little puppy, I turn into that little 3 or 4-year-old standing on the hillside, and I immediately feel the feeling, and that feeling I have brings me such joy that everything else gets shoved to the side. And so I bathe in that for a minute, and that's the practice that I start with. And then if I need some extra stuff, I tell myself, my life is unfolding in goodness. My life is on course, and everything's perfect, even when it's not. It's perfect. And then I start my day. So that's a goofball way, but it works for me.
I love it. It reminds me, I recorded a meditation yesterday, and it's really to change your state really quickly. And I used the Harry Potter analogy when I explained the meditation. And this is for all the Harry Potter fans out there. Do you remember how he was being attacked by these dementors and they were sucking his life force and his light out of him? And he kept being told, and he was using his magic wand to keep them at bay, and it wasn't really working. It was only working temporarily. Exactly. And then his teacher said to him, Harry, you need to think of a memory that is so strong and so joyful and connect to that memory. And the moment, and he kept trying, and like this memory wasn't strong enough, or this memory wasn't joyful enough. And then he had this memory of his mother holding him. And it was such, again, you're talking about the love frequency, Keith, such a frequency of love and feeling comforted and nurtured and this unconditional protection that his mother had for him. And he's there with a wand, and the dementors are coming and trying to suck out more of his life force. And all of a sudden he connects to that memories. And out of his magic wand comes this beam of light, like a rainbow and like an umbrella. And it creates such a force field around him. Thank you, Keith. That nothing that was of what we would call a lower vibrational frequency was able to come close to him. And that is what it reminds me of, when we're in a state where we're feeling down or angry or upset, to connect to a memory that was so joyful and so beautiful and so powerful for us that this is all we can feel. And it overrides anything else that is in our field. I love it. It's like you're doing the Harry Potter thing every morning.
That was nice, Kristie.
Thank you. Thank you. I actually have my phone over here, and I want to read a quote that I posted on Instagram a few days ago, because I feel it's so relevant to what we're talking about. And the quote says, in a time of unprecedented challenge and evolutionary transition, we must heal the wounds of the past, engage fully in the transformation of present conditions, and create a future of unparalleled dignity and beauty for all beings and for all life on earth.
Amen.
Then, I have no idea who said it. It was in my quote folder. If I find it out, I'll let you guys know.
What?
But
I have something to say here, which is
okay.
Human nature is nature. And quite often, the nature we're destroying with our greed and consuming and whatever else is the very God that we're worshiping. Mm-hmm. And so we are the problem, mm-hmm. and we can choose to be the solution at mm-hmm. any moment of any time. We can be the solution by changing our intention and our attention, mm-hmm. and then unifying. Mm-hmm. And so that works not by, once again, hate. It does by love. And we can only focus on one thing at a time. Our brain has that choice: yum or yuck, mm-hmm. Hate or love, mm-hmm. Or whatever. So at one point, you make a choice. And so if you're in anger right now, you're probably not sick and tired of being sick and tired. You probably need to get out a little bit more anger, and get a little more exhausted till you finally go, well, maybe I'll try the opposite. Maybe I'll try love. Maybe I'll try, like Mother Teresa said, invite me to all the anti-war rallies you want and I'll never show up.
Exactly.
Invite me to a pro-peace rally and I'll show up at any time.
Yeah.
It's pro-peace instead of anti-war,
Mm-hmm. What we focus on, right?
Yeah.
That energy increases. Which brings me to the next question that is kind of connected to the quote I just read. Because as we're moving into a new consciousness, as we said, the evolution of consciousness that we're in right now, where we're creating a world without the separation, without the differences that we were taught to believe in. How important is it for us to heal the past? How important is it us to look at what has happened and say, do I need to bring in forgiveness? Or can I just be in the present moment and create a new future from the here and now? What is your opinion?
Keith, you want to go first? Go for it.
I'm not quite so sure heal would be the right word. It's a great word. It does describe the process where we choose the word heal to make good with the past.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be both. I think we can use also a new technique, which is because God is now, everything is happening now in present moment.
Mm-hmm.
We can easily, by that shift that I exampled,
Mm-hmm.
launch ourselves to that place.
Mm-hmm.
As Brian called it, his intention.
Mm-hmm.
He changes his attention and intention. So I'm changing my intention from whatever's over here to I'm now going to use my intention to shift to that place. So when I'm shifting in that place, I'm not in that world because I'm the observer watching all those people who did all those supposed things to me that you can bet you had a karmic debt to pay, like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, when we see it from that perspective, we can begin to realize that, oh my God, I don't have to identify any longer with this movie because I'm just watching a movie, watching this happenings down here.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you begin to see your everything about you from this kind of pulled back perspective, you begin to see God as the chaos in the world. You begin to see God as the darkness, because you can bet if you can liken your spiritual perception to the space shuttle that flies however high into the outer atmosphere, you don't see division between the countries. You don't see any of that. In fact, all you see is huge bodies of water and a few pieces of landmass. But when you live your life from this kind of perspective, you will forever be in awe, like the astronauts in the space shuttle looking down at the Earth going, wow. When you begin to live in this kind of, I'm forever blown away and wowed. We're no longer identified with the so mundane focus of that said thing that happened to you so many years ago. It does not justify or support that person or people who may have treated you wrongly. It's not that at all. It's about you taking responsibility and saying, this is no longer going to affect me in any unconscious way ever again. I'm going to become conscious and divinely look and love and have compassion for this thing that has been killing me all these years. So now what I'm going to do is say, thank you for showing me the way. And without you, I could not have done it.
Mm-hmm.
When you start living like that, the healing bells throughout your entire being begin to resound. Ding, 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 ding. Because you're changing it from the core. That's why a lot of people who have overweight issues, they're protecting something. You look at nature, elephant seals, polar bears, orca, they all have blubber. It's to protect. So if you're one that's dealing with weight issues, what are you protecting? Simply ask yourself.
Yeah.
And also, if you are a person of fibromyalgia, you are holding down a lot of emotional pain. And like a shaken Coke bottle, that cap is on tight. One day you are going to blow your lid and it's going to be messy. So what you want to do is be conscious of that Coke bottle and begin to release that process of all that stuff out of you, and you will heal.
I love that. Thank you. That was beautiful.
That was beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I add to that?
Absolutely. I've been waiting for you to add to that.
That's fantastic. That was so, like you said, God is in all. God is in the great stuff that happens to us, and it's also in the horrible stuff, because the horrible stuff that happens to you is just your teacher. You're learning a lesson. You're growing from overcoming the problem, but you've got to overcome the problem. You can't, Einstein said insanity was repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So, if you just keep denying the problem, you're insane. So at some point when you see that there's a problem, you address it, and there's God in that, because you grow and you evolve from that. So there's our evolution. So then living in the now is actually addressing what is now. So if you're in denial of your problem, you're not living in the now. You're attached. Well, the reason is because, my dad did this, or my mom did this, or this happened to me. And you're not in the now. So at some point when you make a decision, okay, I'm, an alcoholic. In fact, alcoholics have to go through the 12-step program. The first step of the Alcoholic Anonymous program is admitting you've got a problem. So there we go. We admit we have a problem. I'm living in the now. I have a problem. And from that moment on, it is a choice whether you address your problem and give it attention and intention to fix it or not. And if you don't, well, then it's your choice to live in misery and problems and decay. But if you want to create and evolve and yum and positive, then you have to change. You know, the nature is change. And so you have to address that. Living in the now is addressing the reality of that yum and yuck. And, you know, so you gotta change. You gotta evolve, you know? So does that help?
Absolutely. Love it.
Love it.
And I'm just looking at the time over here, and we're getting close to the end of the show. So what I would like for each one of us to do is, do you have a final message for our Rebel Hearts audience that you want to send them on the way with?
I named my sock puppet Lucky, and he's got pennies for eyes, so that's wherever he looks, things make sense.
I've got Kristie's
also add his 2 cents in.
Mine's also got a red, white, and blue outfit. All right, go for it. Keith?
What was the question?
The question is, what's your favorite song?
My favorite? Ooh,
no, it's a joke.
Don't confuse it, Brian.
What was your question, dear? I left for a minute. I left my body. I'm back now.
No, they're great. It's just wrap it up.
Oh, wrap it up. Wrap
it up message.
What you think is happening outside in the outside world likely isn't. And what you think is not happening in the outside world likely is. Live inverted for a while. Move about your life as a ghost, not part of the world, but just watch. Watch yourself. Being the observer is consciousness. Being in the present moment is consciousness. Doing what you love is God in motion. It's not hard. It's not everything you were taught. In fact, it's probably everything you've already known and lost because of the yammering, everybody griping at you, but also the monkey in the mind. He doesn't know when to stop talking. When you look at yourself, honestly, close your eyes, intend, be sincere, and you will hear whether the devil or God is talking to you. Devil in quotes. And when you realize how much noise that exists in that monkey mind, you will understand how much work there is to do. And the best way you're going to silence that monkey is to give him his metaphorical spiritual banana so he can't talk because he's got food in his mouth. And I made a deal with my monkey a long time ago. I said, if you were able to get what you need, you would have it. But you want to aggravate the heck out of me about it. I heard you, but check this out. I want the same things you want. Because I'm closer to the spirit and you know that you're not. Shh. Be quiet for a little while. Just be quiet. And when I get it, I promise you'll be the first person I tell. And I went through this ritual for a little while. I know it sounds kind of hokey. My mind got quiet ongoingly. I'm always in a state of meditation. Always. Except when I'm hanging out with friends and we goofing around kind of thing. But in closing, lift your vibrations. You have no other choice. That's all you've got. You lift your vibrations by living in love. And I don't mean the sentiment of ooey gooey relationship. That's beautiful. I'm talking about accepting, allowing, and appreciating. These are the 3 components of love: acceptance, allowance, and appreciation. And you spin that wheel on yourself because you can offer that to other people. But if you don't have a real grasp of what love is and that you've applied it to yourself, you're writing a check to others that are going to bounce. Bounce checks don't cash. Be good to you. Like really super good to you.
Awesome. Thank you. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You just said writing a check, and you said appreciate. Our old way of looking at the power came from money, and money appreciates. The new way is what you just said too, love. Love is appreciation, and kindness is appreciation, and community is appreciation, unifying. We appreciate each other. Thank you. I love you. And what you said earlier in the show was also fantastic, because you said there was a situation where someone was the worst relationship ever. But at some point, you or whoever your friend was said, thank you for that experience of that bad experience. It's being appreciative of the good or the bad, that every crisis is really an opportunity to learn and grow. So it's all just your own choice. And this is our own path to freedom and letting go of the past, letting go of and taking the weights off. And, you know, angels fly because they take themselves lightly, getting rid of the getting rid of the heavies off your shoulders, and then your wings can spread. Whenever you aren't blaming, blaming and complaining about the past or the now or whatever it is, the reason. So, you know, I say we all have to seek new patterns and be ready for change. We have to stay curious and open-minded and ready for, like, to learn from the experience with the child or the dog or the old person or whatever. Stay curious. Always ask questions and question everything. And at the same time, fear nothing, because there's nothing to fear. Every crisis is an opportunity to learn and grow. Every problem we learn and grow from. And usually how I end things is, you know, laugh more, worry less, love all, with gratitude for everything in life, even the bad things, because in life we learn that everything, particularly, you know, the problems that we have, are just lessons to learn. So thanks for the lessons. And that's how I usually end.
Yeah.
Love it. Guys, I could keep talking to you for another hour or maybe 2 or 3. Welcome to continued, I'd say. But
I'm always open.
Time is up for today's show. And I want to just thank you from the bottom of my heart for beautiful presence on the show, for the inspiration, for the wisdom, for the knowledge that you shared, and for all the light that you're bringing out into this world to push the evolution of consciousness forward. Thanks, Kate. So thank you so much to both of you.
Thanks. Thank you
both greatly.
I love you both.
Love you.
You too, baby girl.
All right, Rebel Hearts, that is it for today. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. And in the meantime, remember to rebel on.
In the future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at UBN Radio.